Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to this first attempt of mine at streaming live on YouTube as opposed to streaming on Facebook. I'm doing this via StreamYard, so it's not directly off the platform. I should be able to see how many of you guys are actually tuned in. At this stage, nobody, which is fine. So just a quick recap of what's actually been going on with Paratus and with the whole Facebook issue I've been having. So unfortunately, they've censored my Facebook page. It was a soft censor. So what they did was anything that I post on the Paratus Facebook page, you don't see in your newsfeed anymore. They haven't given me a reason why this has happened. I've seen this happen to a few other pages as well. So I presume it had something to do with Brian's daily COVID-19 updates and the stats. Ironically enough, he sources those stats directly from the WHO, amongst other official sources. So he's not spreading any propaganda or nonsense. He's actually just regurgitating stuff that's official, that's already in the public domain, and he's adding his own special flavor. But my Paratus Facebook got soft censored. Raw and Unfiltered Perspective, it's another Facebook page that's based in Zim. They got censored. Mr. Guns and Gear got taken down. So yeah, I don't know how much audience interaction I'm going to get. Shadow banning, there we go. Thanks, Roden. So I got shadow banned for a week. It'll only return to normal on the Facebook page on Sunday. But in any event, with everything going on in our lockdown life, I thought, let's talk a little bit about post-lockdown survivalism and what this would possibly mean for the average South African living in this. Now, Matt Ridley came up with a pretty good tweet today as to why the lockdown is so deadly for the economy. And even if we exit it right now, things are not going to be rosy. And he said, if you strangle somebody for 30 seconds and you let go, they're probably going to be okay. If you strangle somebody for 30 minutes, chances are they're going to be pretty fucking dead. And they're not going to be okay. And that's kind of what the lockdown's doing to the economy, is we're strangling the economy, not for 30 seconds. The longer it carries on, the worse the damage is going to be. So we have to kind of start thinking, right, what are the implications going to be for our society and for ourselves as people exiting the lockdown, and what can we do to survive it? I mean, we're not exactly going to thrive, and there are several aspects, and I don't want to chew your ear off unnecessarily. Just as a matter of interest, can I please ask all of you guys who are watching this to just share this on your various social media platforms? Try and get more people to watch if possible. Try and just get a couple of more viewers in. We've got a decent viewer count at the moment. And I'm going to try to keep this discussion structured. I actually, for the first time, wrote some stuff down as to what we're going to quickly cover. I'm not going to go into this in depth. We can revisit these concepts as needed with a bit more in-depth stuff, but we're basically going to talk about the security consequences of lockdown and post-lockdown life. That's the stuff that gun owners are probably the most concerned about, although it should by no means be the sole stuff we're concerned about. So we'll talk about the security implications. We'll talk about the economic and financial consequences, highly important stuff there, the medical healthcare related consequences, knowledge of the law being another topic on its own, and then as well the family / social / psychological effects of post-lockdown. So what we're looking at in the society after lockdown, and I mean, it's already quite evident, we're seeing increases in violent interpersonal crime. I mean, South Africa has always been, pardon me, I'm just taking a sip of my coffee. We've always had a really bad violent interpersonal crime problem and interpersonal violence problem. I mean, for Pete's sake, we've been in the top 10 of the most murderous nations in the world for years already. I mean, I think we were number 8. We were number 7, number 8. We bounced around there. Our homicide rate's off the charts, guys, compared to the rest of the world. We are a war zone without even trying to be hyperbolic about it. So it was already not a pretty picture prior to the economic collapse we're going to suffer. Going out of it into the future, it's not going to improve. So we're looking at the primary thing here. If you're not already a gun owner, you want to start looking at firearm ownership. Legal firearm ownership is going to be at the top of your list of stuff to acquire for the simple reason that a gun is, in the modern day, the most effective, efficient device that's portable that you can use to project force to defend your life. That's really what it is. It's a tool to project lethal force for the purposes of self-defense. We can get carried away by all sorts of philosophical discussions about guns and liberty and tyranny and all this stuff. All of that stuff's important. All those discussions are important, but right now in this narrow focus, it's the best tool you're going to have to defend yourself. It's not, but it's only a tool. Okay, by itself, it's no magic talisman. Everyone I'm talking to in the live stream is probably already on board with the fact that it isn't a magic talisman by itself, and that brings us to the next point. What you're going to need in addition to the gun, which is a tool, is training. And not just marksmanship training and how to use the gun. We're talking about unarmed combatives, self-defense, situational awareness training about where's your mindset at when you're circulating out there in the world, not just the post-lockdown world, but the pre-lockdown world. When you leave the house, what condition are you in? I know that we have the Cooper color codes like white, yellow, orange, and red, and there's a lot of, reinterpretations of Cooper's color codes, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. All right, I'm not here to discuss that with you. That's just going to get way too drawn out. P.S. Just please let me know what the streaming quality is like. If it's stuttering, if it's horrible, just let me know in the comment section, please, so I can just, or in the comments on the stream, and then I can make a plan in future to try and improve it. But you need training, okay? And we'll get you other training later, but right now, just with regards to self-defense, unarmed combatives, self-defense shooting type training, how to run that gun, how to keep the gun in the fight, how to keep yourself in the fight, okay? Physical fitness, strength, all that good stuff. You're going to need to focus. So equipment, skill set, mindset. Those are the three things. All three are equally important. Well, not equally important. Without the mindset, the physical skills and equipment are meaningless. And with the mindset and only the skills with no equipment, you're not going to be as effective. So it's a triangle that, it's important that you satisfy all three sides to it. Okay. With the mindset thing, recommendation, get Left Off Bang. Okay. Can't remember the authors off by heart, but go into Amazon, get it for your Kindle, get it for your ebook reader, get a physical copy of it, but go get Left Off Bang. It's about the U.S. Marine Corps Combat Hunter Program. Go get that and read it multiple times, understand the subject matter, and understand how it makes you more effective, okay, circulating out there and what you're trying to achieve with your mindset, okay? So that covers, to a degree, a brief overview of the security situation. You're also going to need to understand a few things about not just you as a person, but how you figure in your bigger immediate social circle. And that brings us to the family side of stuff, okay? And we're going to segue off that again. So you're going to need to look after your family, your loved ones, your friends. We're talking here about stuff like mutual support, okay? Make your house where you live more secure. Do basic things about looking after getting reinforced external doors, motion detecting lights, if you can afford them. Try and think like a burglar. How are you gonna burglar proof this house? How are you going to make it practically fortified in a way that you can at least have some sort of forewarning in the event of somebody trying to gain unauthorized access and entrance to your house? Okay, you're going to need to start thinking about your domicilium, your home, where you live, how to proof that from an interpersonal violence perspective, and how you're going to conduct yourself within the house, looking after your family, friends. This ties in. The thing is, all these topics tie in, right? It ties in with security. It ties in with economics. It ties in with medical and healthcare concerns. It ties in with knowledge of the law. It all ties in together. These aren't really things that can purely be discussed in isolation, okay? Emotional state, highly important. I know for a fact that my emotional state, as I'm sitting in lockdown, is not okay. I don't know how your guys' emotional states are in comparison. I know mine is not okay. And it can't be, because we sit without exercise. From Friday, we can now do exercise, miraculously, okay? We're allowed to go exercise within 5 kilometers of your house, but we're only allowed to go exercise from 6 till 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. till 9 a.m., I think. I need to just double check that that is indeed true, because if it's only like a 2 or 3 hour window they're giving for everyone to do exercise, it's completely meaningless. But I'll double check that with Mandy Wiener. So emotional states, grim. Okay, there are people that do counseling, and they do counseling online via Zoom, which I hate, or via Skype, which is a lot better, and stuff like that. So it's important for your psychological well-being as well as your physical and other to be aware of your emotional and psychological state in this time. You're not going to go into post-lockdown life feeling refreshed. We're not on a holiday. You're as stressed now as you've probably ever been in your life, and you're going to carry on carrying that stress through. Okay, so that brings us to our economic financial consequences, which is one of the things that stresses people out a hell of a lot, understandably so, in the sense that you need to try and position yourself to either remain employable or to remain in a position where, if you are an employer, if you're a small business owner or a medium enterprise owner or the CEO of a large business, to keep your firm, your business, whatever, keep it going, keep it relevant post-lockdown. Now, there's not much that I can tell you about that. You know, we don't know what post-lockdown world's going to look like. The restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, anything to do with tourism or selling food to people has taken a huge knock. Retail has been in trouble since before lockdown. It's in huge trouble right now. I mean, Edcon is seeing its ass. Logistic companies like Time Freight, gone. I mean, they're about to liquidate by the sounds of it. There is not a single industry that hasn't been brought to its knees by the lockdown. I mean, I'm in the airline industry. We're poked. I'm spending time online on the Learn How to Code camp, basically, that free coding camp to learn how to write code, because that might be relevant in the world after lockdown. I'm also trying to monetize this blog without ripping people off. This is the sort of thought process I'm going through, is how can I position myself in the new world to still earn an income and still be relevant? And that's the sort of thought process we need. And only you can really answer that question. You know what your skill set is. You know what your needs are. You know what your abilities are. You know what your capacity to learn, apply new knowledge is going to be. And that's stuff that you're going to have to sit down and philosophize about, meditate about, think about. So we're talking about adapting skill set, adapting your business for new demand. That ties in with the first point. Lastly, manage your money. You're going to have to manage your money, guys, for several reasons. The Rand is a bad bet right now. So inflation is going to kill it, because no matter what happens, the government is going to perform some sort of stimulus, some sort of quantitative easing, whatever we call it, fancy word of them printing money and then using that money to buy government debt, which will cause inflation. And if they do enough of it, it can cause hyperinflation. If they do even too much of it, then still it could cause runaway hyperinflation. It's not pretty. The Rand is going to devalue against other currencies. Your purchasing power will be eroded, and they can come to try and steal your savings. So try and hold less cash. Whatever you do, if you're lucky enough to have a savings account with lots of rands lying in it, convert those rands into something else. Whether it's gold by buying bullion, whether it's Kruger rands, or if you're buying silver, try to get it into any other sort of liquid asset. Whether you do cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, if you're going to go into equities, sure, right. Equity markets are like all markets all over the show now. But try and get your money offshore if you can into another currency. But rands are not going to be a good currency to hold. You don't want to convert it into something that's too illiquid that you can't turn into rands again, because you might need those rands to survive. Okay, so you don't want to buy something that's going to be too expensive or difficult to turn back into rands when you need it. So hold that in mind. Coming to our fourth point, which ties in all the others, is medical and healthcare. We don't know what medical and healthcare is going to look like post-COVID-19. Well, post-lockdown. Paramedics are being retrenched, believe it or not. Like, we've flattened the curve so hard, we're actually retrenching frontline medical staff. Doctors are sitting at home. They can't do elective work. They're not earning money. The Department of Health is not employing intern doctors, but we're getting guys in from Cuba for like hundreds of millions of rands to do what? It's a mess. So healthcare is a concern. So stuff that you need to think about keeping in your house, okay? Apart from food and water and whatnot, antibiotics and painkillers, highly important. compile a decent first aid kit or trauma kit. Okay, Paratus has a lot of good info on our practical advice section on the blog at paratus.info. Go to the side tab, go look for articles on the practical advice, and just scroll through that stuff. I'll try to put like a COVID-19 readers list together of good info from good knowledgeable people, and we're still adding more knowledge to that every day. So it's a free resource you can use to find out what to put in there. Get a trauma kit, first aid kit compiled, get the basics, get the medicines that are important right now, learn first aid, go on a course, get taught first aid by a certified training provider, knows what they're doing, get taught basic trauma stuff, how to use a chest seal, how to use a tourniquet, how to use a compression bandage, all that sort of stuff, how to perform CPR, all the basic life support functions. And perhaps some more advanced stuff as well is needed. But you want to keep someone alive long enough until you can get them to a proper medical care facility, including yourself. This is all part about fighting again. Can you fight while injured? Do you know how to keep yourself in a fight when you're injured? Because you may have to fight, or you may have to deal with the consequences of a fight because of the levels of violence, right? You might have to deal with stuff like burns, lacerations, deep stab wounds, cut or punctured arteries, sucking chest wounds, God knows what else, right? So you need the knowledge and the skills and the equipment to deal with that, the triangle coming back, okay? The same as the fighting triangle, there's also a triangle for equipment, knowledge, skills, and an attitude when it comes to first aid and trauma and all this sort of stuff. Right, so apart from that, other things to consider. If you have the money available, if you have the resources available, fix your body. Get your teeth fixed if you can. Get your eyes fixed or lasered. I'm going to try and get my eyes organ lasered as soon as possible, because guess what I can't get in lockdown? Contact lenses. I'm running out. Got one pair of glasses. If those break, can't replace them. So I'm going to try and get my eyes fixed. I had a lot of moles cut out of me. I had 9 moles cut out of my body about 2 months ago, and one came back as slightly concerning, but there was no cancer, but the moles worried me. So I had 9 moles cut out in one day. I'll have some more cut out when I get a chance, because you don't want to start dealing with melanomas and tumors and skin cancer and stuff like that that's worrying you in a world where the shit has hit the fan. So upgrade your body. Look into that sort of stuff. So that kind of brings us to the end of the discussion. Apart from the last thing, is knowledge of the law is a thing. It's not really a factor of post-lockdown life, as it is a standalone knowledge set that you really want. Is have knowledge of the law, the Criminal Procedures Act, and how it relates to self-defense. Motivus, that's Max Rosley, and then Francois de Kock, who's not part of Motivus, but he's a separate attorney. Those are 2 of my go-to guys I use a lot to ask legal questions. They are on Facebook. Motivus has a Facebook group. Make use of them. It's a free resource, and there's really good info on there. There's good info on the law and Paratus as well. That wasn't written by me, because I'm not a legal professional. I'm not legally qualified. I can't give you advice. Get all the EDC-related legal advice you can. Pop questions on the Paratus Reddit. There's already been one today about how to, a question about using your firearm in self-defense if you've had a drink, because it's an offense to, handle your firearm whilst under the influence of alcohol. Not to carry it, but to handle it, and how the court could possibly look at that. So these are the sorts of questions you need to ask. So those are just 5 points. We'll expand on these things in more depth with time. We'll have to expand on them with more depth with time, because that's not really the goal of this live stream. I really just did this to test out the streaming facility, if it works okay on YouTube. And I wanted to see how low my reach is, which is pretty damn low, after Facebook decided to do that to me, where they're going to shadow ban me. Like, my post reach has been dog shit. I'm relying on Reddit, on Twitter, on other Facebook accounts. It just hasn't been working. So they really did a number on it, which is why I'm trying to get the word out to people to just please subscribe to the other platforms, subscribe to my mailing list on the website, because no one can take down my website. I own it. I own the hosting. It's something that no one can touch. A last note, and this is something I kind of touch on, because it's not really important to human life, but it's important to other people. Like, the lockdown has been terrible on animal charities, SPCAs and other people doing good work, because there's been a huge number of animals that have been abandoned. There's a lot of animal abuse going on. There's a lot of bad stuff. If you can help out your local animal charity, just go on Google or Facebook, find out who your local animal charity is, find out if they need help, see what you can do. If you've got 10 Rand, 10 Rand's better than nothing. If you can give them dog food, cat food, blankets, old clothes and shoes that they can do something with, all of that stuff would be great if you can. Any questions so far, guys? Because we're 20 minutes in. I see the stream's all good. And I'm just going to start going through a little bit of the comments. There haven't been many, but there's only like 15 of you at the moment. So, I mean, I've gone from a viewership base of 200 to, thanks to Facebook, down to 15. But you know what? Hopefully this video still reaches people. So, Sean Murphy, my yay in Charlotte start markers. You guys are always here. Sticks and Hammer 666 was saying that big tech has been censoring lots of sites and pages that are carrying alternative COVID-19 opinions. It's going to be such a shit show that when it comes out that the people who have been skeptical and contrarian to the mainstream narrative were right. I have no idea how these platforms are going to deal with it. There probably will be no consequences for them, but when it comes out that, you know what, we were onto something by being skeptical about this disease, by being skeptical about the narrative that's being pushed. Because when a narrative gets pushed this hard, you know that there's a huge element of dishonesty behind it. Unfortunately, that is just a fact. There's way too much vested interest from the people pushing it. They want their funding. They want to be at the forefront of grant or receiving grants for their research. Unfortunately, even scientists aren't infallible. And we're learning that lesson the hard way, unfortunately. I see we've got Leroux Oosthuis, and we'll share as far as we can. Thanks for what you are doing. It's my plaisir, Leroux. It's why I'm here. And Charles, the cigarettes are not allowed on level 4. They retracted the original decision. Really? That is ridiculous. That is the most ridiculous thing. Because they were adamant that tobacco products are going to be fine, and the tobacco industry was gearing up for this. And now at number 99, at the 11th hour, they retracted. It's insane. How much longer can they keep people imprisoned, starving to death in their own homes, and we're not making money? We're worried about our future. We're worried about our incomes. It's a complete shit show. Laurie, you'll get your numbers up again, G. Chin up. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Laurie. I really appreciate you tuning in. You're also one of my start markers. You're always around. And the numbers will improve as soon as Facebook lifts that bloody shadow ban. So this is just me tuning in very quickly, checking in very quickly, having a brief discussion. If you guys, I'm going to take another minute or so to take questions if you've got. Otherwise, I'm going to call this one quits a little bit earlier. Just... it was a fairly decent discussion, a fairly good experiment. I don't want to really dilute the discussion too much, but I'd love to revisit some of these points pertaining to post-lockdown survivalism. I think as South Africans, when it comes to the whole survivalist mindset, we don't need to be overshadowed by subject matter experts like Fernando, who's lived through a full-blown economic collapse in Argentina. So the man is quite rightly a subject matter expert. And I'll definitely have him on my channel, hopefully soon again, to chat about stuff. And Selko Begovic, who lived through a siege in the Balkans in the mid-90s. Those are two awesome survivalists. I think in South Africa, we're going to get our own flavor of survivalism going through this crisis. And what we'll learn from preparedness, or of preparedness, will probably be absolutely invaluable. The question is just, not the question. The mission is to survive the incident and the event so we can discuss the philosophical elements of preparedness and not get caught up in the maelstrom. Fortis Vedsenia. Okay, so Fortis doesn't have any questions. Thanks. Laurie, G, you've spoken about self-reliance in terms of planting, growing vegetables and herbs, specific for city dwellers with limited space. So if you've got limited space, you're not going to have a hell of a lot of room to plant a lot of crops. So it would require some research into what's easily manageable in the small space you have available. And if you don't really have space in hydroponics, although it's a bit pricier than, quite a bit pricier than just a normal veggie garden, hydroponics is then something to consider going into. And there's so many good hydroponics kits. I'd actually like to get Stefan Meyer on one of my streams because he has an active hydroponics thing going on, as well as quite a bit of vegetable farming on his property where he's in Gauteng. So Stefan would be a great oak to talk to, and he plants enough to eat. So he fills his table with his own produce to a large degree, and in this economic time, he's become quite reliant on it. So yes, definitely. Farming some sort of vegetables, especially if you've got a community where all the neighbors are doing something, but they specialize in a specific vegetable or crop or whatever, you guys can trade amongst each other to get some variety. And you don't have to have too much variety if you're limited for space. It's something to think about. So yeah, for city dwellers, look at hydroponics. Sean, when the lockdown lifts, I think the suburbs are going to get hit by a massive crime wave. I think they're already getting hit by a crime wave, the beginnings of one. We just don't know about all of it. Because from what I can see, there's violent home invasions, there are armed robberies, stuff's going on. Like there's quite a fewer hijackings, but I mean, that's because no one's outside. And I think we're going to see one hell of a lot of mob violence, public violence, specifically due to unhappiness with the economic consequences of the lockdown, the amount of homelessness, destitution, lack of income, hunger and starvation. That's going to drive ordinary people that are normally law-abiding via desperation into a life of crime. It's already happening and it'll only get worse. The unemployed are going to hit the suburbs hard, says Sean's. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly what's going to happen. Shalberta, you can exercise within a 5-kilometer radius of your home between 6 and 9 a.m. What's that going to achieve except crowd the roads, because everyone is forced to be out at the same time to get their morning run of an hour in. It's terrible. You're not allowed to organize a group of people running, but you're now going to have groups of people running because you're going to have no choice. Are we led by the stupidest people that have ever existed in history? Don't answer that question, but they will never fail to disappoint you, ever. We will keep snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. You can come up with a great plan, and somehow they'll execute it to the very end. And the very, very last bit of it, they'll just fuck it up completely, which is the South African government for you. Maggie Mayer, Laurie, aquaponics is the way to go. Little space, and you get fish for protein too. G will tell Stefan to join. I would love to. Maggie, would you mind asking Steph if he'd like to be, both of you, in fact, would you like to be on a live stream tomorrow, sometime during the day? I'd love to have both of you on, and we can have a chat about the stuff, and it can be on YouTube, so we can share the video then after the discussion's over, and it'll be saved, and people can learn something about it. I'll try to compile some intelligent questions, so please do. Laurie, my main concern is also for fellow diabetics. Insulin cannot be hoarded; it expires. Maybe investigate alternative treatment. I'm not aware of what the alternative treatment options for diabetes is. I can ask around, but that is a major concern, right? Insulin is something, and obviously if it expires and you can't hoard it, you're going to need reliable access to it. And in times of crisis, if that supply chain is disrupted, people with diabetes are going to be in big trouble. So yeah, I think it's something worth investigating. I'll definitely look into it and see what one can do if you're a diabetic and you need to look at alternative treatments. There we go. The editor destroyed the health system. Okay, guys, we're coming up a full half an hour on the stream. I think we discussed quite a couple of good stuff. I don't want to take it too far off topic like I usually do my Q&A sessions, simply because, I had something to talk about at the beginning and then took some questions. But it was great having you here. I would keep you posted about Stefan and Maggie tomorrow and talk about hydroponics. I think it's a really good idea to get some decent info on it And Stefan's my go-to guy for a lot of info and a lot of good stuff. Knowledgeable man. So thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to my mailing list on the paratus.info website. Please check out the Paratus SA subreddit. Please check out the Twitter account. And please check in often on the Facebook page, because I'll still be updating it and it's still going to carry on as normal, but it just won't appear in a newsfeed. You're going to have to physically go check in on that page until Mark Sugar Mountain decides that I'm allowed to come back. So that's it for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and have a lekker rest of your Wednesday evening.